My filters recently stopped a Chinese troll who attempted to spam every person who left a comment on this channel with a link to a bogus, official-looking mugshot webpage, apparently set up by Hillary Clinton, with a photo of me stolen from my website. Digimarc flagged the photo, and because it was photoshopped, metadata revealed the IP address of the soy boy piece of shit. All photos on my website are copyrighted and digitally marked by Digimarc, which is a service I've used to track down infringement of my intellectual property. There is no way to defeat this marking by screenshot or by Photoshop editing or processing. The posts were flagged, the poster banned from ever commenting on the channel again, and I have filed a criminal complaint. This asshole, whose name I won't mention, has one subscriber, himself, and a channel that exists for the sole purpose of trolling conservative social media. If you see such comments, take a second to flag them as abuse. Meanwhile, dipshit, SWAT teams are coming at you. The following from InfoWars is posted here as a public service.
Curiously, I wanted to see what it was like to be inside one of these Discord groups that were propagating the Yang Gang meme.
So we had an undercover infiltrate a leftist troll farm the last week. And what's interesting is this troll farm was getting actual directives on how to sow division and discontent.
And their belief currently is that the United States is going to collapse and that we should do everything possible to make that as quickly as possible.
Prior to anyone reporting it, we obtained documents which have subsequently been leaked on 4chan that connect to the New Zealand Shooters Manifesto.
You've got an insider watching in live time them troll you.
Yes.
There was a large effort to do a file dump of the Discord servers that what appeared to be where these meetings were being coordinated from.
This New Zealand shooting happened and we're watching the troll farms come into action.
I discovered a network of text documents and posts that link to each other.
So you're saying you've got the proof of they're pulling this crap, and then Oliver Darcy, that snake, says shut down InfoWars, they've got racist commenters.
That's right.
On Friday again, waking up to accelerationists shooting up a mosque that published a manifesto quite like the Yang Gang memes were propagated on 4chan and other social media sites for the act of accelerationism.
The release of documents several days ago on 4chan and 8chan were basically the game plan to influence the public discourse on the message boards.
Literal psyops going on right now on the American public.
To basically drive the United States into the wall, to put the foot on the accelerator.
Which is to accelerate things to its inevitable point as quickly as possible.
To sow more hatred.
Sure, so they want full spectrum dominance.
This could be seen as perhaps a grassroots effort by disaffected groups to spoil the plan of the globalists, or it could be seen as a plan by the globalists to basically induce chaos into a system that they're losing control of.
We must ask ourselves, how much of the supposed hate speech that we see on the internet today is really just artificial?
Rather than lose control of meme culture, of the internet, of public discourse, maybe they want to drive us into open conflict using the concept of accelerationism and therefore scare people, cause civil war, cause the meme war to erupt into a shooting war.
To get the United States to be destroyed or get $1,000 in the process.
The investigative report you're about to see is in no way an attempt to contribute to the debunked hoax that there is a Jewish plot to manipulate 4chan into sharing pro-Yang content. This is merely an attempt to gain insight into a new and dangerous social trend that's occurring online. Trying to gain understanding behind this apparent hoax and who may be perpetuating it, we were able to gain access to a private chat room within the Yang Gang's inner circle.
The initial traffic around the Yang Gang meme really drove me to ask questions about it. Where was it coming from? How was it being propagated?
An insider leaked to Clover Chronicle that 2020 Democrat hopeful Andrew Yang is paying groups of online meme operators to influence future voters. So we decided to investigate this alleged Yang Gang troll farm. Seeking recruitment information, we receive directives, resources, and info on how to cover your tracks online.
There has been a massive increase in the posting of Yang gang posting. In other words, the creation of a massive amount of threads related to Andrew Yang.
As you can see, the Yang gang chimes in, making comments about the video, nudging the viewer to understand the type of trolling desired.
This is known as the divide and conquer strategy. By essentially splitting Trump's user base and preventing them from talking about Trump in the first place, attacking them where they're weak, by specifically targeting policies that are against the entire idea that Trump is a white nationalist, when in reality Trump just wants what's best for America.
We discovered these trolls were posing as right-wing extremists spreading anti-Semitic sentiment, while at the same time playing the side of the left.
I would discover a network of text documents and posts that linked to each other. Within these text documents were videos that had approved music in it and video files to use it with, and take column A and column B and mix them together. It also would link to the next document or the previous document into a chain of information, very nonchalantly on paste spin, where you just paste text and it can sit and live on the internet. Very innocuous. No one would really look for stuff there.
We were able to watch this troll farm in action as they dogpiled one of my YouTube video's comment sections with comments that matched their directives verbatim.
When Millie Weaver put out her video on Andrew Yang, within hours it showed up in the group, and they would actively call her a Jew and assume very hateful things about her motivations with it.
Our undercover also gained access to detailed instructions about meme generation and content to troll. Here you can see links to selected content for this troll farm to target. Jack Posobiec, The Red Elephants, Millennial Millie, even my content, daily caller articles, and much more. We discovered these trolls were posing as right-wing extremists spreading anti-Semitic sentiment, while at the same time playing the side of the left, essentially acting as sock puppet A and sock puppet B, aimed at controlling both sides of political discourse. What at first appeared to be mere trolling, promoting a particular political platform, turned out to be a more serious operation engaged in deception and political subterfuge.
The true culprits behind this are what are known as Discord trannies, and that is not my own terminology or phrasing, but rather a group of young men who have chosen to instead spam the boards online on 4chan to make sure that Trump is not elected president for a second term. Well, they're typically fanatics about communism, and they really enjoy the idea of a communist state. However, you can see that someone meticulously took the time to make a variety of Yang gang memes and post them all at once, which is extremely suspicious. After doing further research, I discovered the Discord that would actually allow them to gather together and make sure that their psychological operation went into effect en masse at a certain time.
Looking from an outside-in perspective on the memes, you see a lot of anti-Semitism within them, and this is completely true within these Discord groups.
The release of documents several days ago on 4chan and 8chan were basically the game plan to influence the public discourse on the message boards. We see efforts to push Andrew Yang.
When 4chan had looked into the Yang gang meme phenomenon, they had discovered documents that were coordinated Yang gang memes over the weekend, Friday, March the 8th, going in through the 12th. These instructions outlined things in highly anti-Semitic terms. At the same time, you see the Daily Stormer release their support for Yang in an article titled, "Making the Case for the Establishment of the Yang Dynasty." In the article, they outline Yang's appearance on Joe Rogan's podcast and comparing his warnings about automation to the Unabomber's manifesto. And then on Tuesday, you see the Daily Stormer write an additional article with support with Yang, highlighting the meme releases that trended into the hashtag of MAGA, Make Israel Great Again, through these memes that condemn the U.S. funding of Israel and celebrates their wishes for Yang to defund Israel and give the money to United States citizens.
Sow discord within Trump's base. Sock Puppet A to push narrative that Trump will drain the Israel swamp. Sock Puppet B to push narrative that Trump is an ally to Israel. Color the website as hateful by pushing over-the-top racist and divisive posts that make no real contribution. People who advocate peaceful means should be condemned as Zionist shills. Andrew Yang disclosure coming up. Flood alt-right Twitter sphere with praise for Andrew Yang until the disclosure as a show of power. Andrew Yang's promotional posts by alt-right plants to be redacted. Hyde cover-up event.
There was a large effort to do a file dump of the Discord servers that what appeared to be where these memes were being coordinated from, and within the conversations of it. They also unearthed coordinated raid instructions that are passed along each day of the raid.
It appears someone got kicked out of the group and didn't get paid, so they leaked the docs out of spite. We noticed a bizarre header and footer on these documents, so we had a professional cryptanalyst and codebreaker analyze them. With more than a dollop of insanity, the author of the attached gives it the subtitle, Confidential, Stenography Used to Prevent Leakage. The Protocols of the Elders of Zion is a publication dated to 1903 that was purported to have been the result of several Jewish elders with the dream of the fulfillment of Zionism. Another such document has very recently surfaced and was written and formatted to suggest it was produced by Jews. There isn't a Jew on earth stupid enough to come up with a title as ludicrous as this. It is noted that Adolf Hitler references the fraudulent protocols in his book Mein Kampf, similar to the New Zealand shooter and modern white nationalist groups. Here is what Adolf Hitler had to say. Quote, I took all the social democratic pamphlets I could lay my hands on and sought the names of their authors, Jews. I noted the names of the leaders, or trade union secretaries, the heads of organizations or street agitators. It was always the same gruesome picture. And so too was the attached set of documents produced by an updated cabal of neo-Nazi wannabes purporting to be Jews.
A lot of people who identify with a growing trend on 4chan, which is accelerationism.
Accelerationism is the twisted philosophy that if one accelerates class conflict, pushes capitalism to its limits, oppresses the working class, and creates as much political conflict as possible, you can force about revolution and radical change.
Which is to accelerate things to its inevitable point as quickly as possible. And their belief currently is that the United States is going to collapse and that we should do everything possible to make that as quickly as possible. Waking up to accelerationists shooting up a mosque that published a manifesto quite like the gang memes were propagated on 4chan and other social media sites for the act of accelerationism.
The gunman was live streaming the killings at one mosque on social media. Under his name online is a racist manifesto claiming that white Christians are under threat from other religions and races.
He posted his manifesto using many of the same talking points and memes and jokes and trolling that have been going on in message culture for the past several months and years. Well, having worked on a Noble Aya documentary about the Oklahoma City bombing, I can't help but be struck by the similarities of the media response to that attack and the recent crisis or massacre in New Zealand in Christchurch.
At the time of the Oklahoma City bombing, there was a patriot movement in this country. People were talking about a restoration of the Constitution, the expansion of the police state powers. They were resisting the anti-terrorism legislation that was trying to be passed. After the Oklahoma City bombing, it completely silenced anybody that opposed the globalization agenda.
Now, all libertarians, conservatives, the Republican Party themselves, they're basically terrorists. Here's the headline. Corporate media, McVeigh's anti-government sentiment now mainstream in Republican Party. Imagine how this would hurt the globalists, because their secret weapon is false flag. It is their go-to zeitgeist. We got to take that weapon away from them.
Apparently,
this has been something that's been set up and in the works for a very, very long time by the deep state, and that essentially these terror organizations or groups would use social media. Then later, social media can be scrutinized, and they could essentially say that we have to now make sure that everyone has a government-issued ID attached to every single social media account.
They're making their move for an internet ID to dial into banking so that, ISIS can't recruit online when it's Hillary at Benghazi and the left that empowered ISIS.
Alex Jones on Twitter posted this week what essentially is a video calling for people to get their battle rifles ready.
I know a PR rollout when I'm seeing it. And now CNN came out this morning and said Alex Jones is a domestic terrorist planning terror attacks with no links or no proof. But the fact that they're saying I'm calling for this when I never said it is chilling.
Oliver Darcy tweeted on the day of the New Zealand shooting,
"You don't have to go to places like 4chan to see vile racist commentary. Just go to some of the far-right websites in the U.S. and look at the comments, message boards, Breitbart, Gateway Pundit, InfoWars, many reprehensible comments from users on stories regarding the New Zealand attack." So he's pointing the finger here now at the websites of InfoWars and Breitbart. Is he now trying to call for your website to be banned, Alex? It's not good enough to just ban you from Twitter. He wants to pull you off the internet altogether. And what's crazy is this is literally one of the directives that these leftist troll bot farms had this week. So what's going on? Why is Oliver Darcy following directives that this leftist troll bot farm is giving out?
after the Christchurch shooting, the New Zealand government blocked sites that they claimed were spreading hateful material.
The headline in the New York Times following the attack was, New Zealand is going to institute harsh gun control measures, which is a strange headline following that attack because it is not my concern or the concern of the American people what the gun laws in New Zealand are, which, by the way, are very harsh. So those gun laws will only apply to those who already follow the gun laws, as is the case if they try to institute gun laws here in this country. If you don't have the Second Amendment, how can you protect the First? And in every country where they have disarmed the people, free speech is next because the people are powerless to resist government corruption. The shooter deliberately trolled the media, and they're doing exactly what he wanted. He gave them all the cues to fulfill his agenda. The media, while portraying themselves as being against what he thought, is fulfilling what he wanted.
But really, Hillary Clinton was aware of this white nationalist underground movement.
There will be trolls galore.
These are actually manufactured trolls. It's an AstroTurf outrage machine of these paid trolls. It's part of a program called Breaking Barriers.
As we see them become more mainstream, we see them adopting their own art style and genre, which is to remix vaporware, the art subculture of the alt-left, with fascistic Roman imagery. This trend was observed everywhere and had columns written about from Vice to Daily Beast. Anyone who would be partisanly critical to the fringe alt-right. The alt-right version being dubbed Fast Wave or Fascist Wave. This was to create a subculture to counter the communist vaporwave. You now see both of these symbology and imagery combined together. Now that you see equally that the two groups are working together. It is also very important to notice that the New Zealand shooter posted an image of Fast Wave right before the New Zealand shooting.
We all feel bad for the people who were shot in New Zealand. It was a horrible, horrible act. What the media should not be doing is fulfilling the shooter's agenda, which was to trigger censorship, to trigger gun control, and to start basically a civil war. That's what he wanted. That's what he stated. And as the media cherry picks his manifesto, for example, claiming that he is a Trump supporter, when the shooter most abundantly clarified his position and said he did not support Trump at all. I mean, the shooter also said he was a supporter of the government of the People's Republic of China. Is that true? Is it not? But why is the media not talking about that? He described himself as an eco-fascist, not a conservative, not even as a white nationalist or a neo-Nazi, as an eco-fascist.
Now that we've witnessed these leftist troll farms create the false appearance of right-wing extremism, we must ask ourselves, how much of the supposed hate speech that we see on the internet today is really just artificial?
But just know, any of you trolls out there creating these fake accounts, you are creating an online footprint that isn't going to go anywhere. Anyone smart enough to look at the source code is going to be able to find you out forever.
Please subscribe to our backup channel, Inglorious Patriots. We fly so close to the target, we're on our third fighter jet. We will be relentless truth seekers until the enemies of freedom are defeated. Links are in the description section.